Very good. Hi guys from Pax Europiana. After I had my first macchiato and something to eat, I'm more relaxed and I can show you this beautiful place. And it's a historic border crossing between Macedonia and the newest republic in Europe, the Republic of Kosovo. I'm very proud. I was there at the independence. I also contributed to economic development, and obviously it's an amazing thing, the free republic here, the border, and it is working. The institutions are working, the customs is working, it's clean, it's not corrupt, it's according to European regulation. It's a major reconstruction effort, and everybody who helped in Kosovo can be very proud about it. Yeah. Here this border is very important. You see over there, it's the start of the highway already. Until this border, the highway of Kosovo to Pristina is ready. This is quite a unique achievement, and you see how important it is. So much transport. This is the central point of things which are coming in. Here everybody thinks it's very funny what's happening. Okay, a lot of things. Here at the border it's of course a lot of movement. The trucks are coming here, and it's absolutely time to have a good highway crossing here. And it will be, because the highway to Macedonia will be ready now as well. And we have here a major economic center. It's called Hani, a Turkish word. Yeah. Han is always the border station. It was also the border between the different Sanjaks. That's the Turkish Ottoman districts. Yeah. Here you see one of the major industrial sites, the cement work of Hani Hoti. It's called Shacem. Sha is the mountains towards crossing between, here basically they're starting between Macedonia and Kosovo. I will also show you some of these beauties in the coming days, and it's really amazing. Obviously a lot of movement here, and it's time for open borders in the Balkans. Here you see Friday a lot of traffic. People go to Macedonia for the weekend holidays, and a lot of trucks, because it's the main artery of entry between Macedonia, which is the biggest trade partner of Kosovo, and of course Albania is a big one. But here is really the trade towards Thessaloniki, towards Greece, and also much from Serbia comes via Macedonia. So this is really a very important border. It's like the artery of prosperity for Kosovo, and this is so important. Yeah. I showed you already the cement works, and some of this Peja beer. That's the specialty here, and it's very beautiful. And this is a historic crossing, because here the Milosevic troops have driven all the Albanians over the border. Here and up in the mountains there's a second crossing, and here was a big major refugee crisis, and it was so-called Place. That's the code. There was a refugee camp, and if you watch the interview with Edward Joseph, he was one of the Americans managing one of the refugee camps, and you see this is really a historic point when it comes to the history of Europe, the border crossing of Place. And now it's working like a normal border crossing. In Europe we have of course forgotten what is border crossings often, because we have Schengen very often, but you know we also have issues with that one. And so obviously the talk about mini Schengen is now to have open borders. That would be very, very important here in the Balkans, and I hope it will happen. And then obviously over there, I cannot believe it's so beautiful. There's the highway already. Everybody who has worked in Kosovo, lived in Kosovo, and know how terrible this road was. Yeah, over there, over the mountains. This is basically the so-called Kačanik gorge. Yeah? This is the reason why it was so complicated always here in Kosovo, and why it's so strategic, this position, because these mountains were like a valley, and it was very difficult to enter here. And so it was happening that you had to battle. This was all the reason for the Kosovo battle. You had to cross these mountains, and the other side is flat then. Over there from Ferisaj downwards towards Pristina, it's flat land, and there is the possibility to really then lead the battles. And this was the mountains between Skopje on the one side over there, and then Kačanik is called on the other side when the flat land begins. These mountains to cross was very difficult at all times, and now historically first time ever there's a highway, and I will be so happy to drive on it first time, because I have not been for 3 years. I only saw it on Twitter and Facebook when in the media, and I have not really driven on it, and this will happen now. And I'm very happy about new highways. That's so historic and that's so beautiful. And it's so needed also for prosperity, to give hope to the people, in order to make clear there is a strong future in Europe for Kosovo, And Kosovo, that's also very good for me because it's the NATO tour. It's a very pro-NATO country. You can be sure about it. In Kosovo, everybody loves NATO. And it's very much a pro-American, pro-European country. And beautifully, it is a place where we have a lot of support. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Obviously, there is still poverty here and many problems, and immigration is seen for many as the one answer for the future. And obviously, it is one of the answers. The surplus labor must have a place in the European Union, and so more openness, as the Germans have done it, is absolutely vital for the future. And we need a more open labor market in Europe. We need faster integration of Kosovo, Kosovo in the WTO, Kosovo in NATO, in Partnership for Peace, yeah? And also very clearly, oh, I lost the battery. My guys, my video podcast channel might not be the most professional, still in the making. But I try then when I'm back at home in Vienna, I will then editing, I don't know, but I will continue to do all the audio podcasts, obviously. And this will be also useful, I think, in the future, where I have more time and then also to prepare better. But here on the spot, here in Place, to make the Place Declaration, I think it's meaningful. Meaningful, very clear. We need open borders in the Balkans. We need Balkan Benelux. We need Kosovo in the EU Customs Union. We need Kosovo in NATO, in the WTO, and ultimately as well in the European Union. And it was such a good decision to Euroize Kosovo 20 years ago. Next year it will be 20 years ago that the euro was issued here, and not the dinar and nothing else. It's the euro, the currency for Kosovo and Montenegro, and so it should be for Macedonia and for Albania. And this is the tool for peace, and that's so important. Highways, I have talked about, customs union currency. You know, down there is the transit area for trucks, obviously. That's very important. And here the works for the new highway will be starting. I saw it already on the other side. I heard already in the news, Bechtel is going through the concession process now. It was in the Macedonian parliament now, and that's very good because that means that America is backing Macedonia now very clearly, not just in NATO membership terms, but also deploying Bechtel for this. Will be expensive, but it will be for sure very fast. Yeah, they have done unbelievable work with the highway over there and towards Pristina and also towards Tirana, and this is first class, really top level work, and this is wonderful. Now, Place is also famous for the so-called Comandante Places, because there is also this kind of fight internally in Kosovo, who was really winning the war, who is a real veteran, or in which part of UGK was the most successful, who was just talking like me, who was really fighting. Ultimately, let's never forget, it was American firepower which liberated and defeated Milosevic. It was the cruise missiles from over there, from the 6th Fleet, and the dominance of American air power which submitted the Yugoslav terror regime towards submission. In Kumanovo, by the way, they left here, they left towards Kumanovo. It's the first place then here on the east, on the main road, then on the highway. And then the Treaty of Kumanovo was signed 20 years ago in 99 on the 10th or 11th of June, when basically the Yugoslavian army was defeated. They were relatively intact moving out of Kosovo. Let's never forget, it's not so that they were completely defeated, but the heavy infrastructure destruction of American firepower on Serbia itself led to a shortening of the war. You know, they would have lost anyhow, but obviously the American dominance and firepower, and also the lack of Russian support for going for World War III on behalf of Serbian genocidal regimes, led to the decision to withdraw and to the fall of Milosevic power here in Kosovo first, and then also Serbia was liberated from the terror regime of Milosevic in 2000 on the 5th of October. Still, some people think like him. That's the problem. And here we have to definitely see that there must be significant improvements as well in Serbia. If they're ready for peace, they offer, I will make it here. I will make several videos about it, don't worry. I will repeat it, and I will repeat it again. The euro for Serbia as a price for peace, that's the offer. If they reject it and they decide to stick with a genocidal past and with an aggressive presence and a future with Russia, it's ultimately their choice. Yeah? But in between, we can make a very clear offer, not sanctioned is not the right word, but decided by the European Council and by the European Parliament in a joint resolution. Here is the offer. The Serbia gets the euro as a currency, and the dinar, scrap it, it's over, it's the euro now in the moment of recognition of Kosovo. And that's the deal. Basically, we have to make joint resolutions in Council and Parliament for that. Tell it to the public as a very serious offer. First of all, make it very credible by Euroizing Macedonia, Albania and Bosnia. And of course, you know that Croatia and Bulgaria are already joining the Eurozone 2023. So it's all in the euro, but Orban and Vučić people get the offer, and they get it then when they do the necessary decisions in the parliament. You know, there will be never love between Serbia and Kosovo. Let's not fool ourselves. It will be always very contentious for generations to come because of the many crimes of Milosevic terror regime. And before, it was not only Milosevic, let's not forget, Yugoslavia was treating under Rankovic with full brutality also the Kosovo Albanians. And during the Second World War and in the interwar years from the start of and also in the First World War. And also, let's never forget, from 1912 onwards, when the Serbian army moved south here and they moved towards Kosovo and Macedonia, they fell in the back of the Bulgarians, and that's also historic truth. And they took these lands here, these two lands, and they occupied Kosovo and Macedonia and never left it until 30 years ago when Macedonia declared independence. And let's never forget, it was also that the Macedonians have declared the independence in 91, and then Kosovo declared also independence in the same September. On the 8th of September it was the Macedonians, and here was then on the 22nd of September, here in Kačanik actually, it's the constitution of Kačanik, to my best knowledge, I make no mistake, hopefully I will have to check, and I will also go to the House of Independence. But it was very clear that on the 22nd of September, the first Republic of Rugovo was declared, of President Rugova. And the international community was not ready for it. Only the Albanian state recognized it. While we recognized Macedonia for internal reasons of different status in Yugoslavia, which were ridiculous. Yeah? We didn't recognize then the First Republic of Kosovo. And then there was the harsh reprisals from Milosevic and the following destruction and disaster, which has led to this complete disaster we are currently in. Or we were in for this 10 years until we had by Western power to confront Milosevic first in Bosnia and then in Kosovo in 95 and 99. If we would have gone reasonably well in recognizing Rugova's first republic when we recognized Macedonia, I think much of the disasters would have probably happened already in 91 and we could have contained it much easier. But okay, it was a turbulent year. It was not to be. It's also mainly hypothetical now, but let's always remember President Rugova as the hero he was and the wisdom he had with the First Republic. If you have time, take also time to listen to the interview with President Cedillo, who was already talking in my podcast about the so-called Southern Front, because the idea was that also Kosovo will rise up in 91 together with Croatia and Bosnia against Serb terror regimes, but that didn't happen. They were not ready for that, and so things happened differently in history, and so we are in the 90s as we are in the 90s. Yeah. Anyhow, here in Kačanik, Plače, Hani Hoti, this is the area here in between. I can just congratulate the independence. We are in this beautiful situation to February again. This is year 13 of independence, and now comes year the 14th anniversary. I will try to be back in Kosovo for the 15th. It will be around her birthday as well. And let's see, I just advocate now, that is my main topic, in Kosovo to join the WTO, because you see how much trade there is, how much movement, and unfortunately neither Serbia, Bosnia nor Kosovo are in the WTO to this moment. And there is of course a lack of regulatory access and control in countries which are not in WTO. And despite the regulatory alignment almost completed. It is now time to join the WTO for Kosovo, Serbia and Bosnia together. I will also make several videos about that one, always in front of the key institutions. I will go to the Ministry of Trade, and give my message on the WTO. I will go to the central bank also to congratulate them for the euro. I will go also to the customs house and so I will work on it in order to have clarity over time, and also to document all my issues which I think are necessary for reforming of Kosovo now in this video. And I call again for recognition of Kosovo, like Macedonia has recognized. It's now time for Bosnia to recognize, and it's also time to get real results when it comes to Greece, Romania, Slovakia. This we can easily do, and Cyprus as well, obviously. And then obviously with Spain, this is for the Americans to handle. But also I heard there is some progress with Spain possible, at least to have an office in Pristina opened. And so I think I'm very optimistic. Then coming 4 years until 2024, we'll see enormous progress for Kosovo. I'm confident internally and externally. Biden has his own highway here, never forget. Maybe I can also visit the Biden highway. Let's see what is possible in this some days. I'm only here until Thursday, but I hope that I will make many interesting video and audio podcasts in the coming days and weeks. And also I will continue to also find interesting partners for discussion for the Macedonian Bulgarian issue, and also for the Bosnian Kosovo issue of recognition. I'm also finding interview partners. If anybody has recommendation, I see some people are listening and give me book recommendations. Thanks a lot. I'm ready for all this, and I will improve. I'm far from a perfect historian. I'm not even a perfect economist, but I'm very much here. It seems there is a dark cloud over Kosovo now. I think I'm gonna be very wet very soon if I continue talking and videoing. But nevertheless, this is now from Kačanik. You can call it Blace, Hani Hoti. This is the 3 villages here. The border, Macedonia, Kosovo, all is working. The border is open, and it's time for open borders in the Balkans, and it's time for Europe. In 2029, this country, the Republic of Kosovo, must be in the European Union as a full member. This is my proposal, this is my plan. On this I will work the next 8 years to make it happen. And if it takes 5 more years, okay, fine, don't blame me. But this is my video promise here in Kačanik at the Blace border, where there was so much horror and terror in '99. And now I will say also goodbye. And I will say the next decade is the decade of EU enlargement. And it's the membership of Kosovo in the European Union by 2029, on which I will work. And anybody who is in favor, please raise your hand and come to my video podcast. We will make it happen together. I need a lot of help for this. I know it's not easy, but I think this is the future. And more to come from this beautiful place. Okay, best regards, bye.